Assalamu alaikum. This is Aruj Muzaffar from University of Southern Punjab, Department of English. Today's lecture explores a critical distinction within the study of creative nonfiction, the difference between the English essay and the American essay. Although both forms descend from Michel de Montaigne, they develop very different cultural identities, rhetorical strategies, and literary commitment. As Philip Lopet, an American essayist, states in his essay The Art of the Personal Essay, the personal essayist is not afraid to reveal himself. Watts and all this statement perfectly represents the American tradition. Yet it would feel foreign in the classical English tradition, which will use restraint and decorum. So, our task is to explore both traditions not as opposing forces but as parallel branches of the same literary tree, each reflecting the society that produced it. Let us discuss the origin, like Montaigne, and the birth of the essay. His work Essays is introduced as personal reflection, exploratory thinking rather than argument. It revolves around awareness of self contradiction, a conversational tone rather than scholarly rhetorical. Both English and American essayists claim that Montaigne has been their originator, but they interpret him differently. The English tradition, which is also called the British essay, and the core features of his essays are rational, disciplined, and argumentative. Social and moral purposes are explored, formal style with controlled subjectivity is discussed, tradition of wit and refined criticism is done over there. Author often assumes a public educated voice rather than subjective confessions. Francis Bacon, who is a British essayist, he is often called the father of the English essay. Bacon's essays are aphoristic, philosophical, and reflections on human behavior and morality. Though he writes about personal themes, his tone is objective, impersonal, and instructive. Examples from Of Truth, which is one of his popular essays, is that what is truth, suggesting palate, and would not stay for an answer. It is the start of his essay. His essays are not personal narratives, they are reflections meant to teach the reader how to think. This represents the rational and didactic spirit of the early English prose. Second essayist is Joseph Addison, and in collaboration with him, Richard Steele. Both are the founder of The Spectator, which was founded in 1711, and they transformed the essay into a social and literary tool. Their essays are conversational but still formal, meant to refine public taste and manners. Addison writes, but our opinions of the author's wit is not so favorable at the second reading as at the first. The purpose is moral instruction and social refinement, not self-revelation. This reflects the British cultural emphasis on balance, restraint, and rationality. In the same way, Charles Lamb, he had introduced tenderness, nostalgia, and self-portraiture into the essays. However, even his personal writings are stylized and literary rather than confessional. In his one of the essays, which is named as A Dissertation on Roast Pig, Lamb writes, I have no other notion of a sheep but as a sort of walking mutton. His essays are whimsical and human but still crafted in a way that maintains controlled art history, not raw self-explanation. George Orwell is one of another essayist who represent the English essay in its modern form, which is intellectual, moral, and clear. His essays, Why I Write, which is the title of his essay, it combines autobiography, political purpose, and stylistic discipline. Famous lines of his essays are, good prose is like a window pane. His essays demonstrate the English commitment to clarity, rationality, and societal critique. Virginia Woolf is another very famous woman British writer who introduces feminist introspection and poetic language as seen in The Death of the Moth and A Room of One's Own. She writes, "Lock up your libraries if you like, but there is no gate, no lock, no bolt that you can set upon the freedom of my mind." Her voice is inward and lyrical, yet still it is intellectual and universal as well. He bridges the gap between the classical English essay and the rising American introspective mode. The American tradition, in comparison to the British tradition, is a bit different from the standards. The United States focuses on the key features, and the core features that they discuss are that they are deeply personal, confessional, and self-aware. They focus on individual experience rather than social inscriptions and prescriptions. They are more experimental in structure and form, democratic and conversational tone. Their emphasis is on voice and authenticity over formality. Ralph Waldo Emerson, which is an American essayist, he shifts the essay from instruction to self-discovery. In one of his essays, which is named Self-Reliance, he declares to be great as to be, which is misunderstood. He writes as a philosopher, poet who will use intuitions, individuality, and spiritual freedom. This establishes the American essay as romantic, independent, and anti-traditional. Another American essayist is Henry David Thoreau. In one of his essay, which is like Walden, he writes from personal experience in nature. His essay style is spiritual ecology. Journal-like, anti-industrial. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately. It is one of the texts of his essays, and this essay becomes a lived experiment rather than a literary exercise. This level of personal involvement is distinctly American. In the same way, another writer whose name is James Baldwin, who injects autobiography, race, politics, and existentialism into the essay. In Notes of Our Native Son, he writes, "The story of your childhood is the story of your life." Baldwin demonstrates how the American essay uses personal reflection as a bridge to social and historical critique. John Didion, who is an American journalist, he fuses journalism, memory, and psychological self-analysis. Her prose is fragmentary, cinematic, and interior. From the White Album, we tell ourselves stories in order to live. Here the essay becomes not a form of teaching but a form of survival. The American voice is itself self-questioning, unstable, and unapologetically subjective. Philip Lopate, who is another editor of the Art of the Personal Essay, is the major theorist of modern personal essays. He defines the essay as the essay is the self trying to understand itself, unlike English tradition. He celebrates self-doubt, inconsistency, and personal exposure. He sees the essayist as a character, not as invisible mind. He argues that the essay must reveal flaws, not hide them. The I is a dramatic persona. Honesty and self-consciousness are central. Digression is a strength, not a flaw. These principles summarize the American turn towards psychological interiority and artistic freedom. The rational comparison which is done into the American and British essay is that one of it is intrusive, the purpose is exploratory, rational, moral, experimental, self-revealing, polished, formal. The tone is very much like conversational, ironic, intimate, sometimes confessional. The subject matters are society, culture, self, identity, morality, personal memory, detached voice, central, observer, participant. They are much balanced. Their style is rhetorical, structured, fragmentary, digressive, voice driven. Their ideal reader is anyone public or democratic, impulsive, and their relationship to Montaigne and controlled and intellectual, honest and intimate. Why these differences exist is an important perspective. The English context, aristocratic heritage, classical and education, high values on public discourse, reason and propriety. Essays basically are the tools to civilization and cultural refinement. The American context, frontier democracy, emphasis on individuality and self-invention. They do reject the aristocratic formality. Their essays are tools of self-definition and experiment. Thus, the essay evolves differently because the cultures themselves value different things. In England, order, reason, and stability is valued, while in America, voice, freedom, and personality is valued. So, let's connect back to the perspective that how this authority shows that the essay has now become a hybrid form where English clarity meets American subjectivity, and currently structure meets digression, public thoughts meet private confessions. Modern creative non-fiction borrows from both traditions, but its dominant voice remains American, which is personal, exploratory, fragmented, and intimate. Yet the best non-fiction writers today are those who combine English precision and American vulnerability. Let's conclude it with this perspective and with this theory that essay is not about answer, it is about the mind in motion. And the English essay shows us how to think clearly, and the American essay show us that how we can feel honestly. And creative non-fiction in this way provides us a perspective where we can look into the two voices. One is traditional and classical, revolving around the UK standards, and the other one is the one which is a bit familiar to us, and that is the voice of USA. And our task is to explore both traditions not as opposing forces but as parallel branches of the same literary tree, each reflecting the society that produced it. I hope this is understandable for you and you have understood the core concepts of British and American essays. Thank you so much.